Hold on a second. Do my best. All opinions and quotations in no way represent River West Radio and are the sole responsibility of the producer, guests, and callers. River West Radio is not liable for any legal issues arising from the content of this program, and thank God it is so.
You know why you're here, Mr. Wordsworth?
Yes, sir.
I'd ask you to speak up a little, if you will.
Yes, sir. I know why I am here.
You've been under investigation, Mr. Wordsworth, for the mandatory period of 1 year and 11 months. You're found to be obsolete. The purpose of this hearing is to make a finding in the matter and make a sentence accordingly. Do you understand that?
I understand that.
Your occupation, Mr.
A
Wordsworth?
radio talk show host.
What?
A radio talk show host, sir.
I'm told you've had counsel and been given orientation, Mr. Wordsworth, but I'm still not sure in my own mind that you understand the purpose of this hearing. The field investigators in your sector have classified you as obsolete. This finding carries with it serious implications. You understand that, Mr. Wordsworth? Now I ask you again, your occupation?
I am a radio talk show host. That is my occupation, my profession. If you people choose to call that obsolete...
Request clarification of the term? Yes, the term. Mr. Wordsworth, you people, you make reference to the state.
I make reference to the state.
And you persist in declaring your occupation, correct?
That is correct.
A minister. A minister would tell us that his function is that of preaching the word of God. And of course it follows that since the state has proven that there is no God, that would make the function of a minister somewhat academic as well.
There is a God.
You are in error, Mr. Wordsworth. There is no God. The state has proven that there is no God.
You cannot erase God with an edict.
You are obsolete, Mr. Wordsworth. You have no function, Mr. Wordsworth. You're an anachronism, like a ghost from another time.
I am nothing more than a reminder to you that you cannot destroy truth.
You're a bug, Mr. Wordsworth, a crawling insect, an ugly, misformed little creature who has no purpose here, no meaning.
I am a human being. I exist. And if I speak one thought out loud, that thought exists, even after I'm shoveled into my grave.
Delusions, Mr. Wordsworth. Delusions, the Bible, poetry, essays, all kind, all of it an opiate to make you think you have a strength when you have no strength at all. You have nothing but spindly limbs and a dream, and the state has no use for your kind.
Yeah? Well, we're gonna have to do something about that. This is RiverWestRadio.com, community-supported radio streaming live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm your host. My name is Michael Wordsworth, and welcome to Breaking Down the News, the show that presents the news highlights of the week, but with a twist. Breaking Down the News is more concerned in bringing you information that wasn't covered on the front pages. Headlines you don't want to miss, because not listening could be dangerous to your freedom, liberty, and health.
And good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. It is Friday, August 31st, 2012, the end of the 8th month of the year 2012. Congratulations, everybody. We made it. You know, there are a lot of predictions about 2012. You'd have to be living under a rock to not know that. Personally, I'd like to put out a disclaimer. We're not all about that here. 2012 is a date, as I understand it, according to the Mayan calendar. Those that I'm not an expert in this area, but those that have spoken about it, they say it's just the beginning of a new cycle. A beginning of a new cycle is like waking up in the morning. You know, it's a one cycle ends, another begins. Caitlin Redding in the house with us, everybody. Caitlin, say hi out to the fine folks there.
Hi, fine folks. Yes, that was me kind of laughing in the background, just a tad. Yes, 7-year cycle, and it's supposed to be the cycle of integrity, which means we now have to own up to our crap and pay for it.
Oh, that sounds about on par with what we're going to experience one way or the other. It's amazing. I'd also like to add that it's the end of not just a 7-year cycle, but isn't that calendar the end of like something like a 26,000-year cycle? Or
I'm not sure exactly. I
I'm
know
not
it's over
either.
2,000, but yes, you're right. It's beginning. That's why it's time to take care of your crap.
I like that, though. What did you say? This is a time of integrity?
Yes, it's a 7-year cycle of integrity where you must regain and rebuild your own integrity. So consequently, that means you have to clean up your messes and apologize for the messes that you've caused or contributed to. And that's just owning up to reality.
You know, that is, I just like that. That is great. You know what? And we're going to dovetail with that because talking about cleaning up our messes. Yeah, that's what the news is about today. I'm going to start off with the fluoride-free pineal gland is more important than ever.
Okay.
And why not? This article's from the Natural News by Paul Fassa. Thank you, Paul. I love articles exposing the horrendous truths about the poison known as fluorosilicic acid, the one known to the public by the name of fluoride or sodium fluoride. Recently, there was a study done by Harvard, the Harvard Medical School. It was funded by the National Institute of Health, and it's at the EPH's own website. That study is available for anybody to check out. What did the study reveal? It revealed that fluoride, in fact, reduces IQ. It's not by accident that people are getting dumber out there. It's by chemical lobotomy that this is taking place from every direction. I'm telling you like it is because we don't have much time. I'm not talking about the end of 2012. I totally see things going on. We don't have much time before basically we're going to very, very soon start entering into an incremental stages of economic downturn, warfare, secret rendition, indefinite detentions. It's going to be a party like it's 1999, folks. Yes, sir. All right, now from this article, there has been some controversy over the activity of adding synthetic fluoride to municipal water supplies and elsewhere, but there's not enough controversy as far as I'm concerned. The seriousness of this issue is more than what most realize. Fluoridation ranks with GMOs and tainted forced vaccinations among the great crimes against humanity. Understanding the different fluorides, there are basically two types of fluoride. One is calcium fluoride, which appears naturally in underground water supplies. It's relatively benign. However, too much consumed can lead to bone or dental problems. Calcium is used to counter fluoride poisoning when it occurs. This redeeming factor indicates that the calcium in naturally formed calcium fluoride neutralizes much of fluoride's toxic effects. On the other hand, the type of fluorides added to water supplies and other beverages and foods are waste products of the nuclear, aluminum, and now mostly the phosphate fertilizer industries. It's very important to understand this. We have a fire in the house, or is just his cooking? River West Video. I'm sorry, I interrupt this article to bring you the special news bulletin. We're getting smoked out by the break room food supply. This is hilarious, man. It's just kind of like, I don't know what we're cooking back there, but my goodness. We're trying to cook up some news here, folks. It's kind of, all right, please forgive us. I'm seriously, I mean, the fumes are actually, it's incredible. I'm not sure what the hell. In fact, I might have to just take a break and throw on something. Why do we do that? I mean, what the hell? Why not? It is Friday. We have a super long show here. So let's start off with something entertaining right off the bat. I don't know if anybody here has heard my interview with David Rockefeller, the David Rockefeller. But I'm going to play that for you so we can air out the studio. What are you going to do? We're reading about toxic poisons and whatnot. I'll come back about the article about sodium fluoride, but seriously, it is just too much. We're not in a soundproof booth here. We're like literally dealing with cooking spillover from the break room. It's just hilarious. Okay, I'm Michael Wordsworth. Caitlin Redding is in with us. You're listening to Breaking Down the News. It's Friday. Hope you're having a good time. We'll be right back.
You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com. Once again, the Bilderberg meeting is happening today in Chantilly, Virginia, where many of Europe's top bankers and technocrats are gathering in secret to plan the global economy for the next 12 months. To get a deeper view of this, Breaking Down the News has met with David Rockefeller in Virginia. Mr. Rockefeller, thank you for joining us.
Yes, of course. I'm sure this is a big moment in your pathetic life as a news talk show host.
Now, do you prefer that I call you Evil or just Mr. Rockefeller or David Evil Rockefeller?
Ooh, that sounds good, yes. Call me David Evil Rockefeller. I like the sound of that.
Very well, Mr. Evil Rockefeller. Now, Bilderberg, the not-so-secret meeting taking place this week.
Now, hold on there a second. We are grateful to the Washington Post, Time Magazine, and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promises of discretion for almost 40 years. But now, since the New York Times betrayed me, I would like to retract my praise for the cowardly media outlets that leaked our little get-togethers to the mainstream. Boo! Hiss! Hiss! It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subjected to the lights of publicity during those years. But the world is more sophisticated and prepared to march toward a world government. The supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national auto-determination practiced in past centuries.
But Mr. Evil...
That's David Evil Rockefeller to you.
My apologies.
No, you should get it right. You're a reporter for Lucifer's sake.
Pardon me, David Evil Rockefeller.
That's better. Normally, we hate to be forced out of the shadows, but some fat bastard keeps blowing a bullhorn at my hotel room all weekend, shouting, the answer to 1984 is 1776 or something like that. I mean, what the Hades does that mean? Well, this unruly blowhard has got the people all up in arms.
Well, yes, the people are revolting.
They most certainly are.
Pardon?
The people, yes, they are most revolting.
No, I meant the people are revolting against these secret meetings taking place now that the public has become aware of them.
Oh, that. Well, of course, but they don't pay attention. They don't listen. Most don't even know who I am or what I do.
That isn't true. Not of the young people these days. They don't see much of a future ahead of them because of men like you and the Bilderberg attendees. The younger generations are starting to really pay attention.
Ah, but that is exactly why I created Justin Bieber. Made him out of some spare parts I had laying around.
I would still say the tide is turning and the people are waking up to your corrupt technocratic system.
This present window of opportunity, during which a truly peaceful and independent world order might be built, will not be open for long. We are on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis, and the nations will accept the new world order.
All right, calm down. At this year's meeting of the Bilderbergers, you've got some big-time European heavyweights there. Dr. Joseph Ackerman, Angela Merkel, Herman Van Rompuy, all meeting with you to figure out what to do with the economy for the next 12 months. Now, if Greece is to leave the Eurozone, the rumor is that the Bilderbergs are panicking.
I don't think Greece is going to leave the euro. Germany doesn't want it to leave the euro, and Greece signed off on this memorandum with Troika, as it's called, which is effectively turning their sovereignty over to outside forces, and it's up to Germany, not the Greek people. They lost their sovereignty. I don't see that happening. It's not up to them. It's not their choice. Germany wants to keep Greece, to keep the euro cheap. If it wasn't for Greece, the Deutschmark would trade like the Swiss franc. It would be 20 or 30% higher, and their whole export model would crumble. Right now, Germany is making it out like bandits. They're making money the old-fashioned way.
By earning it?
No, by stealing it. Since the reunification of Germany, something that wouldn't have happened without the euro, Germany has become a superpower once again.
Basically, it's a leveraged buyout. All the assets of Greece are being taken by outsiders. And those are good income-producing assets like shipping, tourism, lotteries.
You are forgetting the gold mines. Don't forget the gold mines.
Right, gold mines. Those were privatized and sold off, correct?
Yes, approximately 111 tons of gold. I'm going to melt it all down and make little figurines of Justin Bieber that the kids can pray to.
But the IMF is bankrupt and they're lending money to Greece. They had to borrow trillions to execute a leveraged buyout.
Ah, but the real trick is getting the Greeks to sign on to this debt. Get it? We borrow the money to lend to them and then take over their sovereignty as we buy out their assets. It's brilliant, simply brilliant.
And then those assets go back to the IMF creditors.
They want the fees. Christine Lagarde says, just give me the fees. Give me my salary and you can rob the Greeks blind for all I care.
Evil, truly evil.
That is why I am called David Evil Rockefeller.
So it's like Mitt Romney when he was at Bain Capital. They just look for small companies and gut them. And in a like manner, Greece is just a small country that you can seize with a hostile takeover.
It is a Jimmy Goldsmith model, done on a bigger scale. Same thing. You pledge the assets of a country like Greece to secure loans to take over the country. Sell the assets, keep the difference, make lots of money. The people lose their sovereignty, their jobs, and I get to add another platinum-covered toilet in my horse stable.
So these Bilderberg meetings are a great way for you and the world's leaders to meet behind the scenes with no transparency and just basically decide the fate of any given economy.
Well, yes, and up until now it was a secret, but no matter. It was no coincidence that we took Ireland, Greece, Portugal, and then Spain in that order. This year, the big question is, where do we go next? France? Maybe UK is an interesting choice. It's similar to how you peasants buy houses, but we get entire countries for pennies on the dollar, you see.
The IMF, since the 60s, has preyed on Africa, then South America, then Southeast Asia.
Yes, well, while America was obsessed with Iraq, we were very busy taking over those regions.
But China threw you a curveball. They had a different model.
Well, China did good business, and that is inconsistent with the Bilderberger policy. However, the U.S. can't really tangle with China because China is now the U.S. biggest creditor, and the whole thing is a sticky situation.
I would like to read you a quote from Bill Moyers about you. May I?
Ooh, yes. If it's about me, Mommy always talked about me and I liked it. Talk about me, talk about me.
David Evil Rockefeller is the most conspicuous representative today of the ruling class, a multinational fraternity of men who shaped the global economy and managed the flow of its capital. Rockefeller was born into it, and he has made the most of it. But some critics see a vast international conspiracy he considers a circumstance of life and just another day's work. In the world of David Rockefeller, it's hard to tell where business ends and politics begins.
It is. It really is. Some days I wonder how history will look back on my takeover of the United States, and they will ask that very question and just don't know how I would answer even now.
So you admit that you want to take over the United States?
For more than a century, ideological extremists at either end of the political spectrum have seized upon well-publicized incidents, such as my encounter with Castro, to attack the Rockefeller family for inordinate influence they claim we wield over American political and economic institutions. Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty, and I'm proud of it.
Wait, didn't you write that in your personal memoirs?
Ooh, you're a smart one, Mr. Wordsworth.
Well, thank you, I guess.
No, I hate that. Hate it. The second we gain control of America, people like you will have to go. And by go, I mean disappeared with black hoods over your heads. Now that is scary. You should be scared. Very scared.
I am not afraid.
Oh, you will be. You will be.
This has been an exclusive interview with David Eagle Rockefeller in Chantilly, Virginia. I'm Michael Wordsworth. Back in a moment.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
This is Breaking Down the News, bringing you headlines that should have made the front pages. Streaming live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard.
And now, live from River West Radio, the man with Wordsworth listening to, your host, Michael Wordsworth.
Yeah, we are back. Thank you for joining us. It is So Friday. It feels like a Friday, actually. We were reading an article about fluoride when we got interrupted by a toxic attack from the break room. What are you going to do, right? I hope the food's good, though. No, it's all... Hey, we're a friendly, community-supported radio station here. We're basically... I don't want to say we're the cultural center of River West because that would be a little presumptuous, but I could definitely say that we are of the cultural center of River West. You've got about 20 to 30 different shows on this radio station now. I hope a lot of you are checking out. They're incredible. It's a great from the heart. It's so many personalities walking around here in River West. It makes sense that we put them on air. You could almost do TV, but frankly, I like radio because it doesn't lull you into that alpha stage of mind where you get hypnotically entranced. Okay, well, look. Before I go on, I'm feeling a little jovial today, but let's read some depressing news. That's right. That's what the show is about, depressing the hell out of you here and having a good time doing it. All right, I was talking about understanding the different types of fluorides that they put in your drinking water. It's unnecessary, but if you listen to the show, you already know that. If you're just tuning in for the first time, let me put it this way. My God, go get a water purifier immediately. You don't understand. Fluorosilicic acid is a poison. It's an insecticide, a pesticide. It's derived from aluminum mining. It's not some pharmaceutical grade medicine they're putting in your drinking water. You're watering your lawns and washing your cars with it. Holy crap, you gotta just do something. Stop drinking the tap water now. Okay, and that was for all the people that never heard this show before. All right, you got two different kinds. Calcium fluoride, that occurs naturally in underground water supplies, but then you got this fluorosilicic acid, which is basically The types of fluorides added to water supplies and other beverages and foods are waste products of not just the aluminum company, but also the nuclear industry, and now mostly the phosphate fertilizer industries. They dig this stuff up. The EPA, which, for those of you that don't know, the Environmental Protection Agency, has classified these as toxins. All right, let's get it through our heads. Let's deprogram for the mind matrix out there today. Fluorosilicic acid, sodium silicofluoride, and sodium fluoride, bad. Very bad. No put in water. No drink water with said substance in it. Bad. Okay, great. There are health hazards of sodium fluoride. Generally, most fluoride entering the body is not easily eliminated. It tends to accumulate in the body's bones and teeth. Recently, it has been discovered to accumulate even more in the pineal gland. Pineal or pineal, I mean, whatever, pineal. Located in the middle of the brain. It's this very important gland. A lot of it's been attributed to your religious experience, your ability to receive spiritual energy, but that's just, let's say that's opinion. That's not news fact here. What is news fact is the consequences of dental fluorosis, which seriously harms teeth from daily fluoridation, has been documented. Yet the American Dental Association continues beating a dead horse, promoting fluoride. There is a refusal to admit that instead of preventing tooth decay, fluoride causes even more dental harm. I mean, get that through your head. It's not good for teeth. It causes teeth erosion and discoloration. The flood of sodium fluoride in water and food are also created other more serious health problems that are not widely publicized. In fact, they're even suppressed. Nevertheless, in addition to fluorosis, independent labels and reputable researchers have linked the following health issues with daily long-term intake of sodium fluoride. Number 1 on the list, top 10 reasons you should not drink fluoride and damages your health. Cancer. Number 9, genetic DNA damage. Number 8, thyroid disruption, affecting the complete endocrine system and leading to obesity. Number 7, neurological, meaning diminished IQ and inability to focus, lethargy, and weariness. Does that sound familiar to any of you guys? Go drink a big glass of tap water right now and tell me if you don't feel a little more dumb, lacking the ability to focus, lethargic, and just weary in general. Just as an experiment. And then brush your teeth with that fluoride toothpaste. See if that helps. Boy, you'll be feeling just crappy in minutes. Yay! Number 6, top 10 reasons why you should not put fluoride in your water and drink it. Alzheimer's disease. Number 5, melatonin disruption. It actually lowers immunity to cancer, accelerates aging, sleeping disorders. And we're going to skip from 5 to number 1 right now. The pineal gland. Calcification of the pineal. Oh, sorry, help me out there, people. Kate, what do you say?
It's penal.
Penal? No, it's not pineal gland.
Sure it is.
Isn't it?
P-I, pineal gland.
But it's
like
not,
pine, pineal gland.
Pineal. I mean, I always...
Penal.
Pineal
gland.
Penal.
No, just penal. And E-A as a diphthong.
Well, because penal is like a penal colony where they put prisoners on an island.
That's P-E-N-A-L. We're talking about P-I-N-E-A-L.
Right. Well,
and you don't break up the two vowels. They should work together to form a hard vowel sound. Not a second syllable.
Well, the psychological importance of the pineal gland, aside from everything else, here we go. During the late 1990s in England, a scientist by the name of Jennifer Luke undertook the first study to actually figure out the effects of sodium fluoride on the pineal gland. She determined that the pineal gland, located in the middle of the brain, was a target for fluoride. The pineal gland simply absorbed more fluoride than any other physical matter in the body, even bones. Because of the pineal gland's importance to the endocrine system, her conclusions were a breakthrough. Her study provided the missing link to a lot of psychological damage from sodium fluoride that had been hypothesized hypothesized but not positively connected. A veritable root source for the chain reaction of blocked endocrine activity had been isolated. Good news, though, frequent exposure to outdoor sunshine, 20 minutes or so at a time, will help stimulate a fluoride-calcified pineal gland. Just make sure you take off your hat. This is more important than most realize because the pineal gland affects so much other enzyme and endocrine activity, including melatonin production. You know, we were talking about 2012 earlier, and somehow I can dovetail this into this rant about fluoride. And actually, it is a rant, but it's a rant best suited to be listened to. First, a bit about 2012, a date many have heard about. According to Carlos Barrios, anthropologist, historian, and investigator who was initiated as a Mayan ceremonial priest and spiritual guide, quote, anthropologists visit the temple sites and read the inscriptions, but they do not read the signs correctly. Other people write about prophecy in the name of the Maya. They said the world will end in December 2012. The Mayan elders are angry with this. They do not agree. The world will not end, but they do feel that it will be transformed. Carlos Barrios goes on to say that the transformation will be both spiritual and physical. The transition started in 1987. He says that we are in a spiritual transition from the rule of materialism, greed, and enmity to a new period of cooperation and peace, but not without difficulty. The current oligarchy is happy with what they have and don't want to give it up, and they are powerful. The Mayans claim that 2012 marks the end of the period of the fourth sun and the beginning of the fifth sun. Carlos points out that adversarial revolution against the ruling class will not work. It's up to those who want this shift to connect with others of like mind and begin actively creating networks of real cooperation. The old will crumble, the new period will dawn with its growing pains, the severity of which depends upon our ability to accept what is happening and go with the flow. This, he says, requires evolving to unconditional love with an open mind and simple heart, forgiveness and cooperation with less ego competition. Well, now connecting the pineal gland to this 2012 matter, well, what does all this have to do with the pineal gland? A lot. It is considered a portal to the inner or higher self by yogi masters, including Paramahansa Yogananda, author of Autobiography of a Yogi. Psychics consider it to be the link for interdimensional experiences. It is associated with what many call the third eye or sixth chakra, which is a doorway to higher consciousness and bliss. And it is vital for supporting intuition, an ability that will be needed during hard times. So it is necessary to evolve spiritually in order to help create better understanding, acceptance of our fellow humans, and easier group cooperation. Meditation is a part of this evolvingness. That and a little sunshine, good rest, food, all of this can cause a calcified pineal gland to loosen up and allow that portal to open. I'm Michael Wordsworth. We usually don't go into the spiritual, metaphysical end, but
why not?
I thought we'd mix it up. Well, largely because we report news. The show specifically, when we set out to do this, at least when I did, I decided there's so much information out there that people, even in this community, have not heard. And I know that because I walk around and I tell them the news that I read, and they go, I never heard that before. GMO labeling, that it's a big issue right now. There's tons of issues. Syria, Operation Fast and Furious. I mean, my God. The Department of Homeland Security was caught red-handed exchanging drugs for guns again. We go on about the TSA a lot, but basically everything we talk about is documentable or documented. And that's very important because I felt that basically, if you start with the facts, we can move on when we're having coffee and sitting at the coffee shop later talking about Mayan prophecies and, our spiritual beliefs. And I hope we might prompt some of that discussion. But at least for this show, there's so much news, we have to just bring you the facts. New facts like here. A new study reveals children are being poisoned by common school supplies. My God, hey? I mean, that's a good thing to hear about. This article is from truththeory.com, written by Andrew Puhanek. Thank you, Andrew. Children are now being exposed to toxic phthalates. It's another very difficult chemical word, phthalates. That's what it is. And it's found in school bags, raincoats, rain boots, 3-ring binders, and other common school supplies. But what could be more sick, huh, Caitlin?
Well, I know that parents frequently hear about toxicity in their children's things, be it their clothing, their toys, their sleepwear, or their books and supplies. A lot of these things are mass-produced in other countries. I don't want to name anyone in particular, China, but we do periodically get warnings. They're not always public.
Did I ever tell you about that local news broadcast in Arizona, I believe it was? I can dig it up for you on YouTube and play it if I really have to, but the broadcaster comes on, you know, the bubble-headed bleach blonde with the gleam in her eye. She says, I'll try to quote her as best I can. It might be true that Chinese manufactured goods have some poisons in them, lead in their paint or whatever. But if you don't stop complaining about that, we're not going to get these cheap goods from China anymore. And she, in the same broadcast, said that mercury was actually good for you and your children.
Really?
At the same time, she says, it must have been a concern over the mercury. She informed you that, hey, the poisonous lead and mercury in your children's toys, that's okay. You need to be quiet about that. 1, mercury's good for you. 2, we'll stop getting these cheap slave goods from China. And that was on an actual local broadcast. It didn't go very far because that broadcast went really viral in the alternative conspiracy world. Wow. Everybody checked that out because they couldn't believe it. You're just like, are you seriously? You know, in a related story, Ann Coulter did an interview telling people, get this, that radiation's good for you. That the people of Japan should thank Fukushima because radiation's good for you. What? I mean, not only is she just a witch, but I mean, on top of everything else, she must believe it, that or she's been brainwashed and is a walking zombie. To go on national television, world television, and tell people, I think radiation's good for you. You need extra doses of it.
It must be a misunderstanding of science. Is she a strong religious individual that doesn't understand science?
No, I think she's a heartless witch that made her money by appealing to Republicans in name only, people that think that they're actually Republican or conservative. She basically was a little PR spokesman for insanity and lies. That's all she was.
That's interesting.
I don't think anybody likes Ann Coulter. Is there anybody out there? If you like Ann Coulter, call in right now. The number's 414-935-2951. I would love to hear from you and tell me why Ann Coulter. I don't think she has a single fan left, honestly.
I have
Maybe
no
2
idea.
old ladies and 1 old guy in Florida are
One
like,
that doesn't have his hearing aid in?
no internet, doesn't like the computer. I think it's fine. Ann Coulter's a wonderful woman. You shouldn't be picking on her.
Okay, well, we'll stop picking on her and just make another point here. Let's take this from the other side. If these materials are being found, these elements are being found in the items that there are a group of human beings producing, that means that they are also exposed to these toxins. So shouldn't we be equally outraged that the people who are handling these products are forced to handle them? And
Well, the lesson we haven't learned yet is that the rights of one are the rights of all. This is the opposite of collectivism. Collectivism says, oh, we're all equal and we're all one and everything should be divided up fairly. Well, that's on the surface sounds good. But what they don't tell you is this will be enforced by giving up the individual rights and you will all become Borg-like beehive members of the new totalitarian regime that'll tell you what to think. And if you think against them, you're taken away because you need to be re-educated or removed. And we're talking about the opposite of that. We're saying now, we should have been up in arms about people being, in this day and age, made into slaves to produce cheap goods just so that our fat butts in America can buy them cheap. Well, we all know we gave up our jobs for it, didn't we? And we're complaining now because we don't have jobs. And remember back in 2009, the TARP bailout came out, and what did they do? They spent $21 billion removing GM to Brazil and China.
Wow.
Well, what, isn't there anything that will piss off the American middle class anymore? Is there no? You know what they did get upset about? It was the unions being broken up here in Wisconsin, the collective bargaining. But I'm telling you, the unions were ineffective. They were effete, E-F-F-E-T-E. They lacked efficacy long ago. And why? It was the lack of participation. The new generation, the old generations got what they wanted. They got their pensions. They're out of here. The new generations weren't as savvy. They weren't handed over the power structure reins. When my father was in the unions, he explained they had real power. They weren't talk. They could get things done. And that's what it took. And yes, there's a lot of corruption in unions. I don't really want to get into a rant about unions right now.
Not all unions, and not everywhere.
But the middle classes here in Wisconsin, actually, some 70,000 people showed up to protest the collective bargaining, and it was amazing. It was shot down. Walker got into office now. So a lot of Republicans are happy about that, but oh, you're going to find out you poor suckers got suckered again. And I'm not saying any Democrats or the Democratic Party's the answer. I'm saying we're both gullible on both sides, Democrat and Republican. Does it really matter if Romney or Obama gets in there? It's Obamney or Obama, however you want to say it. The same agenda will be taking place. I can tell you, almost like I could tell you what's coming up on the menu because it's so obvious. You're going to, at some point, we're going to have a little bit more economic problems, enough to bring it all back into our attention. Then we're going to have some sort of war breakout or bioweapon release. It's hard to say which. More totalitarian police state crackdowns. We are going to want, at that point, welcome totalitarianism. It's pretty messed up. Well, we have digressed so far here. And I really wanted to recap this article about new study reveals children are being poisoned by common school supplies. Kids are going back to school right now.
Right, and a lot of cheap supplies, a lot of competition between Walmart and Target, especially with all the helpful television channel personnel.
And the poor parents, they're sitting there. Their kid wants the Spider-Man folder, but it's the last one, and you're trying to find the exact number 2 pencil and the exact red, black, and blue pen. Believe me, as a parent, it's a really pain in the butt. When you go to Walmart or Walgreens and they got all that stuff assembled for you, I've bought there because you're just like, the school gives you a list. You need X amount of this, X amount of that. I mean, it's not like there's any local retailers providing these goods. And if they did, I hope they weren't poisonous. Let me go on about these poisons. A new study published by the Center for Health, Environment, and Justice titled Hidden Hazards, Toxic Chemicals Inside Children's Vital Back-to-School Supplies. Well, that's revealed that common school supplies are laden with toxic chemicals that have been banned in toys. I guess you can't play with them, but you can take them to school now.
And spend 8 hours with them.
8 hours licking them, getting your snot on them, trading them with your little buddy, sucking on your pencil. Let's see what's in there. Well, phthalates are known to be hazardous even at very low levels of exposure. At high levels of exposure, they can disrupt hormones and have been linked to birth defects, infertility, early puberty. Oh, that's interesting. I thought it was just the estrogen mimicking chemicals. Well, I guess it is in a sense. But early puberty, we have had many young girls now entering their puberty way too soon.
Babies at 11, which means that they would have had to have been able to conceive at around 10.
I've heard is menstruation cycle starting in girls 8 or 9 years old.
I haven't heard that. That was
out of the UK. I can't remember the source for that fact, and I am not infallible in my fact memorization. I do my best, but come on, frankly, I drank fluoride for the good portion of my life. It's amazing I have any IQ left. I've been off it now for like 3-4 years, taking my omega-3s, getting my sunshine, doing my nutrients, getting my exercise,
I would
little
think
yoga, and I feel like I'm getting smarter. I really do. I feel like I'm getting smarter. But there's been years of drinking. Well, anyhow, we're talking about phthalates in children's school supply. 80% of children's back-to-school supplies sampled contained phthalates. There you go. Phthalates, rather, not lights. The phthalates, bis-2-ethylexyl and phthalate DEHP. Also, D-N-octylphthalate, which is known as DNOP, dimethylphthalate, and dinobutylphthalate were detected in children's back-to-school supplies. Any of you that are chemists out there, I honestly don't know all those different compounds, but there are. Let's just call them all into the classification of phthalates. And phthalates is the new buzzword. Yes, there's some things you should be freaked out about in the world. A lot of unnecessary fears generated in the media. This time, it's very important that you get freaked out about phthalates being given to your kids. 75% of children's back-to-school supplies contain levels of phthalates that would be in violation of the federal ban for toys if these products were considered toys. Now, keep in mind, like I said, kids are sucking on these pens and pencils. They're practically licking their notebooks. There's a little snotty noses drip on them, and they're sneezing, and that ain't half of it. 65% of children's back-to-school supplies sampled contained measurable levels of DHP. 55% of children's back-to-school supplies sampled contained more than one phthalate, indicating children are exposed to multiple phthalates from vinyl back-to-school supplies. None of the products sampled contained labels indicating the products contain phthalate, or that should even be concerning to you as a parent. Since the phthalates are not chemically bound to the vinyl, they can migrate from within the products to the surface and be released from the products. Children may be exposed to elevated levels of these toxic substances by using these school supplies. Plain and simple. Relatively low levels of heavy metals were detected in 40% of these children's school supplies. Not only have dangerous levels of phthalates been found in backpacks and other common school supplies, they have also been found in school lunchboxes. Oh, that is so sick. One lunchbox sold by Disney contained an alarming 29 times the limit set by the U.S. Federal Health Agency. Caitlin, can I ask you, what's the point of even having a U.S. Federal Health Agency if you can still do this? They're saying that the toys are banned from containing phthalates, but not the school supplies because they're not a toy.
Well, this is where the law comes in. And may I just make a comment? Disney, wow, as far as claiming to be family friendly, they are probably historically one of the worst companies, have worst track record of violating. Violating
labor laws, children's labor laws.
Getting stuff cheap, things that are contaminated, things that are not to specs. Disney is just awful as a corporate. They have no ethical or moral responsibility towards their customers at all. But I question a couple things about this, Michael. One of the things I question, I know that probably, and you can correct my history because my memory isn't, I'm not sure if I'm remembering things correctly. In the 80s, it seems to me, was about the time that there were some real changes in mass-produced school supplies. And I think it was probably somewhere in the late 80s, early 90s, where the majority of our supplies, when the emergence of stores like Walmart, where these products would have been in demand because of the volume they needed, and that this would have been a natural evolution in China providing the method of production and producing these items. So I'm thinking this has been going on probably for decades, that even though children who probably graduated high school in the 80s, late 80s, were not as affected, that it's been there for quite a while. It's probably been there in all kinds of different commercial products aimed at use because of the shininess, because of the materials, the water resistance they're trying to now fabricate into products. And I wonder if some of these chemicals aren't some of that fibrous, those
I remember
agates.
I remember the quality of school supplies being way better when I was in school, and when I bought them for my children. With each passing year, the quality became crappier and crappier.
The inks, everything.
The pencils, nothing worked.
Right.
It was like, I guess what's the difference, right? Showing up at school wasn't going to educate any of the children, so it was all a formality. So it was like ritualistic equipment.
Well, using pencils as an example, that's actually something you can track. Of course, there's always been opposition to using wood and pencils because of the mass amounts of trees needed. They've made changes in the graphite that's in pencils, and it's gone overseas. And then if you look also to it, what the material supply is overseas, they may not have the wood supply, so they may be mixing it with other fibers, might be adding soy or hemp fibers. I'm not stating that there's anything wrong. I'm just saying that the composition of the items changes from the locality in which it's produced and the materials present there.
Well, unlike the people that manufacture this stuff, we actually care about the customer base, the consumer base. So let's try to inform them what you can do about this horrible situation. Number one, try not to use school supplies that contain vinyl. These products are not always labeled, although some may be labeled as vinyl or PVC. Number two, purchase PVC-free school supplies made out of safer materials.
How? If it's not labeled, how?
You know what? If they're sold by Walmart or any major chain, just assume that they're poisonous. Honestly, that's the only way. I don't care if you have to go online and find some sort of organic school supplier.
You probably can, actually.
Thank God my kids are out of school at the moment, but, I would. We've got them on organic food. We don't drink fluoride. We don't take vaccinations. You can laugh at us now, but you won't be laughing in the near future when you're sick and dying. And I'll be strong and healthy with my family. And what can we say? We tried to warn you here. Tried to warn you.
Okay.
All right, but it's just not hip and cool to be, worried about things that really are actual threats.
Let's make a suggestion in a positive nature here. I'm thinking just along the lines of what you said. In order to try to avoid buying the products with vinyl or vinylization.
Well, I'm sorry. Actually, I didn't even answer your question. To identify vinyl packaging, first look for the universal recycling symbol.
Ah.
If it has the number 3 inside it or the letters VG or PVC underneath it, you know the product is made out of PVC.
Wow, that's wonderful news to know that.
Okay, let me say that again. If it has first look at the universal recycling symbol. If it has the number 3 on it, inside it, around it, hovering above it, I don't care. The number 3, bad. Or the letters V for victory, normally not bad.
V for vinyl.
V for vinyl, there you go. V
Villainous
for vinyl, or PVC, bad.
Pernicious vinyl.
Pernicious vinyl component.
Peligro.
The report recommends government agencies begin labeling which products contain phthalates. So you won't know if they contain phthalates by the label, but you can deduce it by looking at the universal recycling symbol. Number 3 is no glee. I'm trying to way to remember this.
Certainly.
Number 3, you're not free of phthalates. I mean, what do you can?
Sure.
3's bad. That's all I can do.
So let's go back to the other point you made, and that is, why is this not legislated? And toys are legislated. Well, again, it's demand. But something that might work even faster than trying to get legislation passed is to simply change your buying habits, as you had mentioned earlier.
Consumer advocacy. Vote with your dollars.
Exactly. We cannot stress to you how important that is. I don't care how broke you are out there. You're buying something almost daily, and your consumerism speaks volumes. It could take up to 10 years or longer to get
Companies will listen, though. They will listen. Believe me, I've seen it happen many a time. The problem is we got to get every one of us working in unison. That's where the power comes from. The power of the people is, unlike collectivism, it's a collection of individual wills united.
7 years of integrity.
7 years of integrity.
All
right, I'm Michael Wordsworth. We got to take a break here. Been talking too long. No, that's not the reason. We just need a break. All right, we'll be right back, though. We're here till 6 o'clock. We got another hour and a half of news. I know, really. And judging by the coffee shop, there aren't many people out there, so I'm assuming everybody's getting off work. They're having a good time, so it's hard to say who's even listening to us.
Well,
it'd be nice if just one person called in today and said, yeah, I'm listening. It'd be cool.
Not you, Mom.
Yeah, nobody we actually know. Here, Sleepy's listening. We know he's...
oh, Michael, the smoke is coming back.
Oh, no. They're cooking again. Oh, this is crazy. All right, we're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com.
Experiments have shown that less than 1 minute after the viewer begins to watch television, the brain switches from beta-level consciousness, associated with active and logical thought, to alpha level, which is associated with passive acceptance and suggestibility. This is why advertisers spend billions of dollars a year on commercials, as well as product placement within TV shows. Political messages are implanted in fictional TV programs as the relaxed meditative state of the viewer is receptive to the programming.
You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
This is Breaking Down the News, bringing you headlines that should have made the front pages. Streaming live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard.
Well, hello. It's Friday, August 31st. This is Caitlin Redding. Well, let's bring you some good news, and not necessarily everything didn't make the headlines. I'm going to bring some things occasionally that have made the headlines, but I just think maybe you haven't had time to check out. We all know Warren Buffett, that wonderful man who's just working full-time, 60, 70 hours a week, trying to give away millions and millions of dollars. Well, he has announced a big gift. He doubles up on a donation. Berkshire founder increases number of shares given to children's foundations. This is by Eric Holm, and this appeared in today's latest edition of the Wall Street Journal. Warren Buffett celebrated his 82nd birthday by doubling his donation to his 3 children's charitable foundations, pledging an additional $3 billion of stock in his Berkshire Hathaway Incorporated. In a letter to his children, Mr. Buffett said his annual donations to each of their foundations would increase next year to 1.22 million Class B shares, currently valued at about $103 million. The number of shares will decline slightly each subsequent year, though Mr. Buffett said he expected the value of the annual donation to average about $100 million. As the value of the Berkshire raises, the shares rise in value, that is. In a letter which Berkshire released to the public Thursday, Mr. Buffett said his children have exceeded my high expectations to make the most of the funds from his earlier gift from 6 years ago. I am confident you will use the money wisely, each in your own way. A letter was signed, Love, Dad. Oh my gosh, isn't that just beautiful? Mr. Buffett's earlier gift to his family's charities was overshadowed by the simultaneous announcement of a massive donation to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. When it was announced in 2006, the donation to the Gates Foundation was valued at roughly $30 billion, easily qualifying as the largest charitable gift in history. Mr. Buffett is the chairman, chief executive, and the largest shareholder of Berkshire. When announcing the 2006 donations, he said the shares he had pledged totaled 85% of his Berkshire stake. More recently, Mr. Buffett and Bill Gates, two of the world's richest people, have lobbied their peers to give more of their wealth away. They announced jointly a giving pledge in 2010, asking the nation's billionaires to publicly commit to donate at least half of their wealth to philanthropic and charitable groups. Boy, I think that would cover the amount required to bring the nation's schools all up to standard. Mr. Buffett's children, Susan, Howard, and Peter, have put the earlier donations toward a wide variety of causes. Susan Buffett's foundation supports education and anti-poverty programs. The Howard G. Buffett Foundation funds agricultural resource development for small farmers and clean water programs in Africa and Central America. The Novo Foundation, run by Peter Buffett, focuses on improving the status and well-being of girls and women worldwide, according to its website, which says that humanity is deeply and unconsciously programmed to accept rampant competition, exploitation, and domination, due to hundreds of years of conquest and colonialism. Peter Buffett told the Omaha World Herald, a little too much of the president's name in my head today, in an article published Thursday that pledges were sort of a reverse birthday gift. The World Herald, Warren Buffett's hometown newspaper that is owned by Berkshire, had reported the new donations. Berkshire Hathaway's Class B shares closed at a mere 84.12, and composite trading on Thursday up 13 cents or 0.16%. Well, what a wonderful man. In the meanwhile, I was talking a little bit about the meeting that hasn't been very well publicized of the Federal Reserve Bank presidents. There's, I believe, 12 of them. And after listening to an interview with Mr. Lackey, who is the president of the I think that's the North Carolina branch there, Federal Reserve Bank, was talking about this upcoming weekend. They were getting together in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And he was mentioning that although there are 12 members on the board, only 6 of them are able to vote at any one time. So let me read a little bit of this to you from the Wall Street Journal. Again, Friday, August 31st, a Groundhog Day for Bernanke. Once again, Fed chief focuses on the sluggish economy in the Jackson Hole speech. So this is parts of the speech that are being released, and they don't tell us everything at once. They're just leaking a little bit of this out, but the meetings, again, occur this weekend. So Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke wasn't expecting he would have to make another speech like the one he will deliver here on Friday. A few months ago, the Fed seemed to be on a cruise control as the economy healed. Many officials at the central bank hoped they were done with launching complicated programs to spur a sluggish economy. But Mr. Bernanke and his colleagues, once again disappointed by the slow growth and small employment gains this year, are formulating another dose of monetary stimulus to be considered at their next policy meeting in mid-September. So this must be the meeting before the meeting. And when the chairman speaks Friday morning at the central bank's annual retreat here, he must once again address whether there is more the Fed can do to get the economy going and whether it is worth taking chances on controversial new programs. So let's skip ahead here and explain a little bit about what they're doing. The Fed adjusts interest rates to influence the economy. Low rates typically fuel economic growth by spurring borrowing, spending, and investment, while high rates do the opposite. With short-term interest rates pinned near zero, the Fed is deploying on other tools, including long-term bond buying and job owning on the rate plans to stimulate markets and the economy. The Fed signaled strongly in the minutes of its July 31st, August 1st policy meeting that in September, it is likely to offer new and possibly stronger assurances that interest rates will stay below beyond 2014, and it is seriously considering more bond purchases. One issue Mr. Bernanke might clear up on Friday: whether the U.S. economy data since that meeting, some of it modestly stronger, has changed his outlook. Oh, it's beyond, beyond the big issues of the moment, such as whether the Fed will launch a new bond buying program. A broader question looms in Jackson Hole about Mr. Bernanke's legacy. Long after his term as chairman ends in 17 months, he will be remembered as the Fed chief who did too little to combat high unemployment, or the one who did too much and unleashed inflation and financial instability with the actions he took. Critics make both arguments. And how Mr. Bernanke acts now depends in part on which he sees as a stronger critique. As an academic before joining the Fed, Mr. Bernanke often criticized central banks for dealing too passively with financial crises and economic melees. As chief Fed, he has confronted many limitations to the policies he controls. Dallas Federal President Richard Fisher, full of more easing of Mr. Bernanke, says that the Fed chairman is likely to deliver an academic commentary Friday on the costs and benefits of Fed action. So apparently he's going to try to school these guys. who are obviously very good at what they do. And they're trying to find out which stance he's going to take. Investors are hoping for more than that. They want clear guidance about what the feds will do next. Though Jackson Hole hasn't been a staging ground in the past for big policy announcements. So that's very interesting. There are two groups here. The Federal Reserve, one sets monetary policies and the other sets fiscal policies. This will be more along the lines of fiscal policy. The buying of bonds, the changing of interest rates greatly impacts all of us in terms of it decides what our money is worth and what we'll be able to do with it in the future, and what things like housing loans and things will be available, interest rates, etc., those types of things. So let's look a little farther here, see if there's anything else interesting in the news. And I also want to make sure that we do not, once again, forget to do our own plugs for our own radio station here. We'd like all of you to join us for an in-house talent, I guess, show. Not sure what else that you would call it. We'll be availing the additional talents of the on-air staff to put together an entertaining fundraising show that's going to be at Linneman's on Friday, September 28th. I hope you all can come. I have no idea what's going on, and we will find out, I guess, in the days to come. We also have another activity coming up here on Saturday. That would be a week from this coming Saturday. It will be the Center Street Festival, Center Street Day, not sure what you might call it, and it will be featuring all kinds of local artists. We ourselves will have a tent outside and a mock mini radio station set up so that you can sit in the desk behind the mic and see what it's like for yourself. We'll also have an artist stage, and we encourage people to come do quick sketches, paintings, or videograph. We'll have different models posing a different pose every 20 minutes, I'm told, and there'll be a variety of different types of people coming, and we're taking people off the street. All you got to do is sign up at the clipboard. There'll be people in costume, etc. So please come for that next Saturday at, I think, 11 a.m. And you know what? We're going to take a quick break and be right back.
You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com.
When you start talking about manipulating the environment, we have treaties that go back to the mid-'70s that forbid this, number one, as weapons of war.
So the perfection of weather modification took place, but it became apparent that using weather modification for wartime purposes was not acceptable to the United States government and other nations of the world. So therefore, the ENMOD Treaty came into being and was signed by the United States government after passing Congress. The reason it was signed and implemented was because it would ban warfare, weather modification techniques and use during times of war.
Almost all of our treaties that we've signed, including the non-proliferation, counter-proliferation treaties, chemical treaties, the ones that were signed recently, last few years, back maybe a decade now, I guess time goes. But they had domestic exemptions, and so does the environmental treaty, where you can do whatever you want in your own territorial boundaries. When you start manipulating weather in one part of the planet, it doesn't look on the ground and say, oh yeah, wait, this is the boundary of a political boundary. It fails to recognize those. So you start to talk about geophysics and manipulating the planet itself. Then it's a question of those kinds of exemptions shouldn't even be allowed.
Meteorology and the military have a very long history, as I said, and it goes into the strategic advantage that multiplies your traditional force, that is your armament, into using nature to your advantage as well.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
This is Breaking Down the News, bringing you headlines that should have made the front pages. Streaming live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard.
Why is cannabis still illegal? This article from TruthTheory.com, reported by Noah Bond. Thank you, Noah. Appreciate this. Cannabis sativa, or it is more commonly known, marijuana. This is a subject that I wanted to weigh in for a while now. On the surface, it may appear to be a trivial issue, but the deeper you dig, the more and more it becomes apparent that the roots on this planet run deeper than we would have ever imagined. I began exploring the bigger picture behind cannabis a few months ago. Already convinced from my own experience that A, it is not a dangerous substance to have publicly available, and B, that it is a naturally occurring part of nature. Therefore, making it illegal intrinsically struck me as one of the crazier things our government has ever done. And boy, is that ever saying something. Debate around this issue generally centers on concepts like the gateway to other drugs or the growing THC content of hybrid strains. Let me save you some suspense. Marijuana laws are not and have never been based on any kind of scientific data regarding physical or mental health. In this article, I outline some of the lesser-known capacities of the cannabis plant and expose the financial interest which they threaten. For in case you haven't noticed, this socioeconomic control is what is always comes back to. Cannabis laws were based on special interests. The cannabis laws were based on special interest when they were made and stay in place for the same reason. First things first, however, we should be clear on terminology. The word hemp refers to the strains of the cannabis plant with THC concentrations which are so low they could play handball on the curb. I'm sorry, so concentrations that are so low. Look, you can smoke a pound of hemp rope and you won't get high, you'll get a headache. Okay, that's...
Isn't that where smoking rope came from? The sailors, the hemp rope they used to braid?
Like seriously, I don't know that.
I'm pretty sure.
But
I'm being facetious.
But probably they were smoking the real stuff and saying that it was the rope. I don't know. But hemp refers to cannabis plant with no THC in it, okay?
There are two. Just for those people, just technically, there are two cannabis plants. One of them is cannabis sativa, and one of them is cannabis something else. I'll get you that name.
Well, no.
The sativa has the THC content. The other one is the clothing, the paper.
Hemp.
Yes.
Or what they call hemp.
Yes.
The thing that nation was largely founded on.
Exactly.
Whereas marijuana, on the other hand,
sativa
refers to, well, actually, in the classification of marijuana, you have cannabis sativa, indica, ruderalis, and afghani. There you go. And, okay, let's get down to it. Manufacturing materials. I mean, this is what it comes down to. Marijuana was made illegal on August 2nd, 1937 through the Marijuana Tax Act. Prominent supporters of the bill included William Randolph Hearst, a newspaper tycoon who also had large investments in the timber industry, various cotton industrialists, and DuPont Chemical Company, which held the patent for nylon. In all three cases, anyone who looks back on this issue can see the strong financial interest to make hemp fibers illegal, not because of any concern for public well-being, but for their own selfish earnings and interest sheets. Today, cities and roads around the world are covered in concrete. Houses are constructed with gypsum drywall, and all manner of commercial products are made with petroleum plastics. What do these materials all have in common? They all contain considerable quantities of toxic chemicals and don't biodegrade well. They all are more ecologically harmonious. There are ecologically harmonious alternatives that exist from all these petroleum products. Imagine if old buildings could be demolished and sent to a composting facility. A composting facility, I'm sorry.
I was going to ask you about that.
Could you imagine that? I mean, like, instead of the lead in this asbestos, that you could actually tear down the building and just compost it and use it. Like, that's how safe it was. You could virtually eat the damn thing.
One of my favorite kinds of housing construction that they're experimenting with is as straw bale housing.
Well, look, imagine if you could simply toss a plastic bag into your backyard compost bin and it would decompose. That's inconceivable.
Well, we do have degradable products. I use them in the industry. We have products that have photodegradable netting that after just a couple months of exposure to the daylight virtually disappear. They just vanish.
All right, well, how about, biofuels? The unsuitability of petroleum-based fuel has gotten no shortage of attention. What people are far less aware of, however, is the diversity of viable solutions available to us. Every internal combustion engine currently in existence is already capable of running on a biodiesel or ethanol fuel. Ethanol, of course, bad.
Yeah.
And we could go into that one, but yeah, just take our word for it's bad. Go online and look up why it's bad. That way we
E85, yeah, let's not go there.
Okay, deriving these products from soy and corn, as has been most widely publicized, is not, in fact, our best option. Those more common methods rely on GMO agriculture and petrochemicals derived from fossil fuels for production. So there you go. I mean, you get, oh, yeah, okay, then let's make it from corn and soy. Well, again, they managed to screw that up even. That's a bad idea.
Have you ever seen the numbers crunched to how much money it takes, how much petroleum fuel it takes to produce biofuels? It's unbelievable.
I don't have them off the top of my head, but yeah,
You're familiar
I remember
with?
They're bad. Fortunately, there are much better alternatives for agricultural crops to create biofuels. Options include algae, certain strains of fungus, and, you guessed it, hemp. Yes,
really?
hemp. Between fuels and plastic, hemp has the potential to effectively rid us of our dependency on petroleum. Imagine that. All right, let's talk about medicine a little bit here. With the growth of medical marijuana as a non-pharmaceutical alternative to treatment for many chronic pain conditions, people are beginning to question the non-holistic approach of big pharmacy. Thousands are now turning to naturally occurring THC rather than semi-synthetic opiates, which are phenomenally more impairing of physiological and cognitive function. Greater still is the potential impact of CBDs. I mean, it's actually cannabidiol. We call them CBDs, a compound found in the leaves of the cannabis plant. It's one of the most powerful alkalizing, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancerous compounds known to man. Isn't that something?
Anti-cancerous? I've never heard that.
Oh, yeah, totally. Actually, CBDs they're literally medicinal. There was raw cannabis. There's a movie called The Power of Raw Cannabis. Go check that out. It's probably on YouTube, I think. Pretty sure. Let me see here. Hold on a second.
We were just looking at an article. I'll have to pull it up again online on the Natural News talking about lung health of cannabis smokers versus cigarette smokers. I didn't get a chance to screen that, but that might be something to see. Anything that burns, anything that you smoke, obviously can be a source of cancer because you're putting a foreign substance in your lungs that doesn't belong there.
Well, the thing, that might very well be true. I'm not sure what if carbon monoxide is a cause of cancer, but the part of the problem is if the substance you're smoking is toxic to begin with. Like if you smoke plastic, what do you think is going to happen, right?
Well, there's a lot more involved with plastic, right? Because of the release of many deadly chemicals into gas form.
But the neat thing about hemp and marijuana is that both of them are non-toxic. In other words, you could ingest 10 pounds of hemp or whatever. You get my point. It can't kill you, especially due to poison. So it's kind of...
So you're telling me, except for the calories, I can still eat 10 pounds of cannabis brownies and I won't OD?
You totally won't. You will probably pass out, go to sleep, whatever, watch cartoons and eat food, but maybe call up your parents and ask them questions. I don't know, but no, you will not die. I guess in conclusion, discussion over whether or not marijuana should be legal predominantly centers around its effects on human health. This is not the real issue. No one has ever died from smoking weed. Not even lung cancer has ever been linked to it. The cannabis plant is illegal because it is one of the single greatest threats to the financial establishment of our world. Most directly, the industries of pharmaceuticals and fossil fuels. What's more, THC can, I believe, play a facilitating role in the deprogramming and awakening of those who bring attention to that experience. What could be more threatening to financial establishment than that? I'm Michael Wordsworth. We're going to take a little break, come right back. Thank you for listening today. It's a hell of a show. Peace.
You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com.
My name is Dr. William Courtney. I'm involved in the raw use of cannabis as a
Every day,
dietary
people wake
essential.
up all over
In
the
that
world
capacity,
and
you
hear
can use 60
commercials
times more than
like
you
this
tolerate
one,
heated.
with soft
That
music
capacity is
and a
absurd.
soothing announcer's voice telling you how great some big corporation's new technology will help you and your family. But it is important to remember, these companies could give a flying f*** about you or your family. That's why Breaking Down the News has made this commercial.
I'm
to
Donald
counter
Abrams,
their
and I'm the
commercials. Don't
Chief
be
of
fooled by
Hematology
them.
Oncology
The
at San
battle is
Francisco
to
General
gain
Hospital
control
and
of
a
your
professor of
mind through
medicine
media
at the
propaganda.
University of California,
Just
San
say
Francisco.
no to evil
I do
corporations
research
and their
in
slick
medical
computer
cannabis
graphics
applications.
designed to brainwash
If
viewers.
cannabis is
Vote no
discovered
with
in
your
the
dollars,
Amazon
and we will
rainforest
regain
today,
the health of our nation,
people
one
would be
consumer
clamoring
at a
to
time.
make as much use as they could of all of the potential benefits of the plant. I think, unfortunately, it carries with it, a long, maybe not so long history.
Economists, that's right, economists. You know they're about the most useless thing. They're paid to be wrong 2/3 of the time. And I'm telling you, our economy, they keep telling us our economy is getting better, right? Right? I mean, what a joke. It's like Hitler reporting back to the German people that he's winning the war. Isn't it? Isn't it? I mean, just look at the jobs market right now. It's just ridiculous, huh? We must be having a jobless recovery. A jobless recovery. You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
This is Breaking Down the News, bringing you headlines that should have made the front pages. Streaming live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard.
West Nile, they're lying to you again. If you've heard, the West Nile virus has been in the news quite frequently lately. This article from TruthTheory.com exposes more. This is by John Rappaport. Actually, I'm actually becoming a fan of John Rappaport. And pardon me, this is from naturalnews.com. I apologize. Naturalnews.com, great website. John Rappaport, a great writer. Him and John D. Hayes, I believe. I keep finding their names. There's several names on many of these articles, and they're really catching my attention. These guys are becoming my favorite journalists, so let me report their articles with due diligence and give them credit. The government PR machine has swung into high gear promoting West Nile disease. It's a national outbreak. 1,138 cases in 38 states, 41 deaths. Planes are spraying toxic aerial pesticides. Never mind that the U.S. Center for Disease Control claims 36,000 people die every year from ordinary seasonal flu, and there are no announcements of an epidemic or an outbreak. Never mind that the World Health Organization claims between 250,000 and 500,000 people die every year from ordinary seasonal flu. And if this isn't called an epidemic or an outbreak, what would be? If you added up the death count from all the hyped and predicted epidemics of the last decade, including West Nile virus, SARS, bird flu, weaponized smallpox, and swine flu. The total would come to about 1 year of deaths in the U.S. from ordinary flu. But who cares about facts? What's important is how much fear can be generated. That's the statistic that counts. When you're talking about CDC or the World Health Organization. Moving on, police shoot homeless man 46 times. My goodness. That's right, police shoot homeless man 46 times. Video has surfaced of an altercation filmed earlier this year between 6 officers in the Saginaw, Michigan Police Department and a homeless man. The cops shot 49-year-old Milton Hall 46 times, thus killing him. Authorities have released video footage of the July 1st encounter between Saginaw police officers and Hall, a homeless man they spotted wielding a knife at a local parking lot. Police responded to a 911 call after Milton, described by his family to CNN as suffering from serious mental health issues, had a disagreement with the clerk at a nearby convenience store. When law enforcement found him, he was pacing in a parking lot with a knife. My name is Milton Hall. I just called 911. My name is Milton, and I'm pissed off. Hall can be heard shouting on the amateur footage shot from somebody's cell phone. On the uploaded clip, Hall is audibly told by a female police officer to drop his weapon, after which the suspect refuses and encourages the cops to let a dog loose on him. Well, there you go. Let him go. Let him go. The Hall insists. Apparently, this. Let me interpret this for you. Apparently, this knife-wielding mental patient was encouraging the police officers to release the dog on him. I mean, maybe they should. I mean, let me see. Well, here, what happened is the authorities do not heed his request, but immediately after Hall screams at them to sick the dog, the video clip picks up the sound of a barrage of bullets being fired at Hall. Now, this is interesting. Honestly, would it have been better to release the dog or shoot him 46 times? That's 46 times. Okay, the guy has a knife. Multiple police officers are seen in the video. They're, of course, armed. They have a dog. They're a good, safe distance away from this guy. Nobody else is around them. No potential victims. Sure, maybe the guy could have ran in the store, but, he hadn't stabbed anybody yet. Apparently, he was a poor mental patient that had serious mental illness issues. Was he a threat or a concern? Of course he was. Of course he was. With all that in mind, was it really I mean, my goodness. The Huffington Post, many of you know that it's a news publication, reports that the 6 officers all involved in the shooting were initially put on administrative leave while the department investigated the shooting, which was the second police-related death in the small town of 50,000. It's a small town. I mean, it's about the size of Shreveport, I guess. It's kind of interesting. I mean, it really is. It's interesting to me that, look, I know it's not easy being a police officer. I understand that every day, even the stress of having to deal with undesirable mental patients or, rude people or... Anyhow, in any case, though, what would really, like 3 bullets would have boom, boom, boom. One and then wait. I mean, seriously, this sounds like a great taser thing, but maybe, if you're really that concerned, 1 bullet and see how that affects him. Maybe he drops the knife, in which case you're generally okay, right? You got 3-4 police officers, plenty of backup, bring them all in, you got a dog. But these guys opened up 46 times on this and the guy is homeless, right? So, look, if you can't be, in America, there's a lot of homeless people today that are not mentally deranged because they've lost their jobs and they've lost their homes, and now their families are actually really homeless out there. They don't have mental problems per se, but they, the stress of undergoing what the recent poverty, one could only imagine what that would do to ourselves. Anybody going through that, there's a loss of dignity. Anyhow, 46 times this man was shot. This homeless man was shot. All right, we're gonna 46 times. I don't know. What do you guys think? I would just love to get a freaking call in here sometime. 414-935-2951. We're trying to cycle through the news as fast as we can here right now. Tell you what, let me do the little thing, and we'll come right back with the new article. Let's just keep it rolling. America's infrastructure crumbling, says American Society of Civil Engineers. This article by Ethan A. Huff, staff writer for naturalnews.com. They say the integrity of a nation's infrastructure is a direct reflection of its overall morale, social, economic, and political health. If this is true, then the United States is in some very serious trouble, as the American Society of Civil Engineers, known as the ASCE, America's oldest national engineering society, has given a near-failing grade to almost every national infrastructure category in its most recent report card from America's infrastructure. All those stories that have emerged in recent years about bridges collapsing, roads failing, and dams and levees beginning to crumble are apparently not mere flukes. To the contrary, many of the nation's bridges, dams, water treatment plants, power generation facilities, roadways, levees, railways, parks, transit systems, and schools are in very serious disrepair. And unless tax dollars are diverted from filing the pockets of fat cats to actually maintaining the means to which we all live, the entire nation will literally crumble into dust. There are not enough roads, and too many of them are falling apart. America's decaying roadway systems are one of the most obvious infrastructure failures, as nearly every single American uses them on a daily basis. According to the ASCE's calculations, American roadways earn a grade of D-, which is basically a failing grade. And it's failing because there's not enough roads for the amount of people that use them, and many of them are in very poor condition with no immediate signs of being repaired soon. According to the group's analysis, American collectivities spend 4.2 billion hours a year stuck in traffic because of inadequate roads. Holy shit, that's a lot of time. Oops, sorry. Which costs them $78.2 billion a year in wasted time and fuel costs, or about $710 per person. Holy, all right, now I'm starting to get mad. You read these articles and then you're like, wait a minute. Because of our poor road systems, Americans collectively spend 4.2 billion hours a year stuck in traffic. I mean, they're saying if you add up all the people times the hours spent, it comes out to 4.2 billion hours a year stuck in traffic. The fuel you pay for that, if you divided it up among the people using the fuel, it comes to $710 per person that you're paying being stuck in traffic. That's why I used that expletive earlier. I could not believe that fact. My goodness. All right, I should do an article. Headline: $710 of your money goes to gasoline that you spend idling stuck in traffic. Wouldn't that be a good one? I think I will write that up, actually. Based on that one little fact data. Existing roads are also declining in many areas, especially in urbanized areas where acceptable ride quality is now as low as 72.4%. 1 in 4 American bridges, the bridges that go across our rivers, streams, railroads, those things you drive across, yes, a bridge. Well, they've been declared that 1 in 4 of these things are structurally deficient or functionally obsolete. Yeah, there was that collapse in Minnesota not too long ago. That's right. Well, bridges are another major problem in the U.S., as many of them are on the brink of becoming structurally unsound or of completely collapsing altogether. The ASCE says that more than 26% of the nation's rural bridges are not up to par structurally or functionally, while more than 30% of urban bridges fall into this category. Earning a C grade on the ASCE scale, the bridge category needs a yearly cash injection of about $17 billion in order to adequately retrofit the nation's bridges and make them safe for travel and use. Since the average age of America's more than 600,000 bridges is around 43 years old, it is important for public safety that these aging bridges be thoroughly inspected and repaired if needed. Well, no kidding, right? I mean, I appreciate the article that they wrote here, but I guess that's what the ASCE is, the American Civil Engineering, let me get it to, American Society of Civil Engineers. I just wanted to get that right. ASCE. I read a lot of acronyms here on the news, so, you'll forgive me. You get a lot of them thrown to you during the day. It's kind of, like, what? I mean, pretty soon we'll just be speaking in acronyms. Be freaky, huh? All right. Well, thousands of dams are on the verge of failure. Ah, son of a bee. Yeah, well, you got to figure that, right? According to this article, though, let me read on. Dams provide energy, water, and flood protection for many areas of the country, including heavily populated urban areas. But nearly 6,000 of these dams are now considered to be deficient, with more than 1,800 of them having a high hazard potential, which means that their failure could result in catastrophic loss of life. Based on the latest available data, there are more than 1,700 high-hazard dams in desperate need of repair, up from only a few hundred back in 2001, but only a few dozen of them receive adequate retrofit every year, while the number of new dams needing repair every year increases by several hundred. At the current rate, there will be more than likely eventually be a cascade of dam failures that will result in a high sufficient loss of human life and infrastructure. I'm Michael Wordsworth, breaking down the news for you today. We'll be right back.
You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com. The TSA has consistently made the news with bad reports about its moral conduct, questionable employees, civil rights violations, everything from workers stealing cash out of travelers' luggage to trafficking drugs through airport security gates. Congresswoman Blackburn recently brought to the news media an awareness of the TSA's hiring of known child molesters and child porn collectors. My question is, why are we putting up with this? Why have we become so tolerant of being peasant slaves that we will acquiesce to anything? I've come to the DFW International Airport outside Dallas, Texas, to ask some questions of ordinary passengers and to interview the TSA workers themselves. Let's go in and see what they have to say.
I don't like what I have to put up with every time I fly.
Ted Wilsonberg travels by plane frequently and has to get groped on a regular basis. But does he have to put up with this?
No. Hell no. I'd keep these guys out of here if I could.
So you don't think that we need to be molested in the interest of national security?
No. Think about it. A police officer can't just come up and put their hands in your crotch. But these guys feel me up every time I pass through these gates.
But why do you put up with it?
I have to do this. My job depends that I fly 3 to 4 times a week. I have a family, you know?
The TSA stands for total suckasses when it comes to trampling on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. How do they get away with it? I asked the director of security here at the airport at Dallas-Fort Worth. Yeah, well, when you pass through them doors, them front doors of this airport, you're no longer in America, boy. You're now in international territory bound by international law. And that's the great secret. The Constitution of the United States does not apply in its airports. Since September 11th, 2001, the Bill of Rights has been circumvented because of the threat of terrorism, when in actuality, you're more likely to die from a bee sting or be struck by lightning than actually be affected by terrorists.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
Kennedy died at 1 p.m.
Every day, our senses are being constantly bombarded by subliminal messages that are found in TV, movies, and advertisements. The subliminal messages we are subjected to are unrecognizable by the conscious mind and only recognizable in our subconscious mind. The messages and imagery are passively absorbed and then stored in our subconscious, where propagandists deliberately implant artificial thoughts, which in turn can affect our actions and attitudes later in life.
And now, live from River West Radio, the man with words worth listening to, your host, Michael Wordsworth.
Yeah, we're back. 7 toxic foods, drinks, and additives to cut out of your diet for good. You guys want to hear this? Why not? 7 toxic foods, drinks, and additives to cut out of your diet for good. Why not? Let's just get it out of there. This article, also written by Ethan A. Huff, staff writer for naturalnews.com. With so much conflicting information out there about which foods are healthy and which foods are not, it can be difficult for many people to determine how best to approach a healthy lifestyle that includes eating well. But a good place to start is to avoid these 7 toxic foods, beverages, and additives that are quite common in the American diet. All right, come on, people. We can do this. Seriously. Diet sodas and beverages sweetened with artificial chemicals. They're gone. Come on, say it with me. I will no longer drink diet sodas and beverages sweetened with artificial chemicals. There. Don't you feel better? It's really, you're much better off now. One of the more common dietary misconceptions in mainstream society today is the idea that diet beverages are somehow healthier than their sugar-sweetened beverages. Aspartame, also known as NutraSweet and Equal, saccharin, which is found in Sweet and Low, and sucralose, which is Splenda, are among the more popular artificial sweeteners used in many diet sodas, juices, chewing gums, and other foods. Okay, so what's the answer? We will no longer drink diet sodas. If we are fat, we will drink no sodas. We will not simply buy foods and sodas, beverages that say diet on it in an attempt. You know what? You should eat. I could give you a diet that I guarantee you would lose weight. I mean, there's so many out of there. But, I mean, the fact is, if you're still junking out on McDonald's and you're still eating Twinkies, and every now, not that many, I just had a box, you're going to keep the weight on. Here in Milwaukee, we really don't care about keeping weight on, do we? We drink, therefore, alcohol, it goes all to our butts. It's kind of amazing. I've really noticed this. There's the drinking, like you've got the distended guts, but then you've also got the big butts that go with it. It's kind of a... Well, look, in our defense, you've got these incredibly long, cold winters. At least typically, last year was kind of weird. We had some solar flares in March, which was really nice. I was sitting out in the sun there, out on the patio, but... Anyhow, I just fell off the map here, didn't I? Okay, look, not only are artificial sweeteners bad for your health, that's what we're talking about, we're trying to get rid of 7 foods out of our diet right off the bat, so we could just, I guess you're still going to drink. I mean, let's just here in Milwaukee, they're still going to drink. You cannot get these people to stop drinking. No, I'm serious. You can't. It's not going. One, if they stopped drinking in Milwaukee, there'd be a serious economic decline. We would have our own mini depression here in Milwaukee. God, that's funny just to think about that. Okay, if you want to protect yourself against chronic illness and toxicity, listen up. Aspartame literally converts to formaldehyde in the body and causes metabolic acidosis. Hey, just hearing that aspartame literally converts to formaldehyde, that should freak you out. If you don't know when you should be freaked out, let me help you. I'll tell you. You should be freaked out right now, very freaked out. You should never buy aspartame products. Check every product you buy. And if it's got aspartame, spelled A-S-P-A-R-T-A-M-E, get rid of it. Please don't. Come on, I'm serious. You can't just be like, aspartame can seriously cause temporary blindness. I mean, aside to converting to formaldehyde, you can only imagine what formaldehyde would do to you. I don't know medically. I'm not a doctor or a scientist. I just am a reporter in this case. Or actually, I'm performing an extensive community service while our nation just we're polishing the silverware on the Titanic as it's sinking. And I'm reporting you news. That's what's happening, actually. Anyhow, it's best to stick with either raw sugars or natural sugar substitutes like pure stevia extract if you have to do something. I'm serious. If you're a sugar junkie, I just got off sugar not long ago. It's not easy. I still have my 1 muffin a day. And I have my peanut butter sandwich with my honey. Big jar of honey I've been digging out of. Other than that, I'm pretty sugar-free. I really am. No sugar. Very little fruit, even. So it's, I guess you could stick with raw sugars, as this article suggests, but what I found out is, okay, raw sugars would be way better than refined sugar. Seriously. If you have to consume sugar, do it raw, do some honey, I guess do some stevia. We don't know about stevia yet. This article's saying it's good, but, as years go by, that might change. What we do know is that sugar is toxic. So, damn, you gotta, we're a nation of sugar addicts. Guess what? Booze converts into sugar. I forgot exactly how that goes. But you kind of get your sugar high off that one, too. Or is it sugar converts into alcohol? Crap. All right, I'd like to retract that previous statement. I'm not actually sure if booze converts into sugar or sugar converts into booze. Thinking about it, it's probably both are true. You can call in today. The number is 414-935-2951. Maybe your memory's better than mine. Feel free if I ever get anything wrong, which is, I tell you all the time, I'm not infallible. Usually if I get my facts and figures printed in front of me and I'm reading them to you, they're right on. It's usually verified by sources I trust. Harvard Medical, EPA. I'm citing our own experts. It's kind of funny. I get to use the experts that are used to fool the public into consuming poisons as good. I use their same information against you because on the back end, they're admitting, oh, yeah, it's bad. It's totally bad. You're just not paying attention. So thank goodness there's a show like this one out there. You know what, though? We're not the only one at Breaking Down the News. I've been reading a lot of articles today from truththeory.com. Just found out about them quite recently as an alternative news source. Oddly, they report much of the news that I get off of other news source sites that are alternative. Well, good for us. The point is, alternative media is reporting information that you should hear, not the hype and propaganda you shouldn't. Let's move on to high fructose corn syrup, the silent killer. It is not really much of a secret to anyone anymore that high fructose corn syrup, despite all the corn industry shilling, I remember the commercials, corn syrup. So what's wrong with it again? That was the commercial. It's like, are you serious, man? Like, that's your whole, just like, say the name of a product and then ask, so what do you publicly know about the health hazards of corn syrup? And then most people couldn't tell you. Maybe 5 people in America are like, well, 5% of America can. I mean, they actually read articles, and I'm bringing you articles like this because you totally should know. Let me read on rather than talk and rant. I'd like to give you information. All right. The corn industry is filling you with crap when they say that there's nothing wrong with it. It is a toxic sweetener that should be avoided. Since it's linked to obesity, brain damage, low IQ, and even mercury poisoning. That's right, mercury found in high fructose corn syrup. Reported on that many times. Avoiding all foods that contain high fructose corn syrup. This can include breads, cereals, and other seemingly innocuous foods. This will do wonders for your health. I'm telling you, you got to strip down your diet. It's a really weird process, but you go through every brand, read every ingredient, make sure that it's certified organic, that it contains no GMO. If it's certified organic, it shouldn't contain GMO. But you know, I like those ones that the companies that actually put on there no GMOs. They are appealing to a market demographic, such as myself, that actually would buy on that basis. All right, it's very important, though. Let me keep on with this. Let's get rid of, we've got hydrogenated oils, trans fat varieties. Most vegetable oils, including hydrogenated and trans fat varieties, are bad. The misdirected war on saturation fats has convinced millions of people that unsaturated vegetable oils are a healthy alternative. Not only do many vegetable oils turn rancid quickly, which means they are toxic. If they turn rancid, that means they're toxic. But many of them also contain high levels of omega-6 fatty acids, which, apart from omega-3 fatty acids, can cause severe health problems like heart disease and cancer. Many vegetable oils are also derived from genetically modified organisms known as GMOs, including canola, soy, and corn oils. These same oils are often hydrogenated as well, a process that turns them into heart-destroying solid oils. Heart-destroying. Key word there, heart-destroying. Actually, it's 2 words, hyphenated. So, you know, it's a compound word. Avoiding these and sticking instead to healthy fats like grass-fed butter, coconut oil, olive oil, and hemp oil will greatly improve your health and lower your risk of heart disease. Let's get rid of white bread, pasta, and other refined flour foods. Oh, white bread was a tough one for me. I mean, come on. It tastes good when you toast and butter it. Maybe it's just because I was brought up with it. In South America, rightfully, these people acknowledge white bread as bread lacking integrity, and I have to agree with them. White bread lacks nutritional integrity. It's a substance that basically breaks down in your gut like wallpaper paste. Would you eat wallpaper paste right out of the gallon? No. And believe me, it was a hard. I'm eating seed sprout bread. That's the majority of my bread. I'm trying. Look, I'm just trying. You get to a certain age and you're like, maybe I should take things a little more serious. And actually, I wish I would have started this when I was younger. I'm pretty darn healthy, and I would imagine I'd be even more healthy if I was. Anyhow, get rid of white breads. Why? They are cheap, plentiful, and come in hundreds of varieties. I know. But white breads, pastas, and other foods made from refined flour are among the top health destroyers in America today. Not only are most white flour products carcinogenic because they are bleached and bromated, but they also contain, they lack vital nutrients that are stripped away during processing. Avoid white bread whenever you can and all processed wheat products if possible to optimize your health. If you see white bread hanging around your shelves at the grocery store, inform local law enforcement officials immediately, as this white bread could be armed, and possibly affiliated with white bread supremacist organizations. Let's move on to monosodium glutamate. MSG, often found in, it's not a joke. Chinese food sold to us in restaurants here that actually isn't even Chinese food. It's actually, some sort of Chinese. Anyhow, it contained MSG, which is carrageenan, a refined salt, often hidden in foods under deceptive names. That's right. MSG doesn't always come out and say, "I'm MSG." You have to totally. Oh, Ingrid just sent us a text here. This just in on my text. Hey, it's Ingrid. Unable to kick migraine. Can you tell him I can't make it? Well, Ingrid, we can and did. That's right. Ingrid's inspirational hour. She will not be here at 6 o'clock. It's 5:29 now. For those listening, I assume this migraine headache will disappear. Ingrid, if you can hear me, seriously, drink some water, purified water, not freaking tap water, okay? I'm serious. My friend Caitlin Redding, she was on air earlier. She's our new guest anchor. She had a headache. I said, drink some water. She said, I have been. I said, drink some more. She drank it, and guess what? Her headache went away. It's amazing. Also, if you just consumed a bunch of sugar, all right, lay off the sugar. Seriously, don't do it. Actually, I hope you're listening. That was some good advice there. We're talking about MSG. We're talking about 7 foods that we got to knock out of our diet. And MSG is definitely one of them. It's hidden in foods with deceptive names. MSG is a pervasive salt chemical you will want to avoid that's linked to causing headaches. See, Ingrid, you could have MSG in some of your food. They call it yeast extract. I wish this damn article named the other names. That yeast extract, natural flavoring, and there's a couple others that MSG hides by. So I hope that's helpful. We do our best here. Carrageenan, another chemical additive often hidden in, quote, natural and organic foods like nut milks and lunch meats, is similarly worth avoiding, as it can cause gastrointestinal upset and colon cancer. And processed salt, which is added to just about everything these days, lacks the trace minerals normally present in sea and earth salts, which means it ends up robbing your body of these vital nutrients, and you don't want your body robbed of vital nutrients. Hey, pretty girl alert on the sidewalk. Yeah, it's Friday out here. People having a good time. She's got that red party dress on. Thank you. It's River West, people. You got to love us here. Community-supported radio. I'm Michael Wordsworth. We're going to take a short break. Be right back. Heading up to the top of the hour. It's 5:32 on Friday, Central Standard Time. Bum, bum, bum.
When you start talking about manipulating the environment, we have treaties that go back to the mid-'70s that forbid this, number one, as weapons of war.
So the perfection of weather modification took place, but it became apparent that using weather modification for wartime purposes was not acceptable to the United States government and other nations of the world. So therefore, the ENMOD Treaty came into being and was signed by the United States government after passing Congress. The reason it was signed and implemented was because it would ban warfare, weather modification techniques and use during times of war.
Almost all of our treaties that we've signed, including the non-proliferation, counter-proliferation treaties, chemical treaties, the ones that were signed recently, last few years, back maybe a decade now, I guess time goes, but they had domestic exemptions, and so does the environmental treaty. Where you can do whatever you want in your own territorial boundaries. When you start manipulating weather in one part of the planet, it doesn't look on the ground and say, oh yeah, wait, this is the boundary of a political boundary. It fails to recognize those. So you start to talk about geophysics and manipulating the planet itself. Then it's a question of those kinds of exemptions shouldn't even be allowed.
Meteorology and the military have a very long history, as I said, and it goes into this strategic advantage that multiplies your traditional force, that is your your armament into using nature to your advantage as well.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
This is Breaking Down the News, bringing you headlines that should have made the front pages. Streaming live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard.
Researchers use Wi-Fi radar to covertly that is, monitor the movement of people through walls. Thought you might want to know. This article by Madison Rupert. In today's world, the seeming safety and privacy provided by four walls and a roof is quickly diminishing, with microchips enabling mobile devices to see through walls. Microchips allowing mobile devices to provide ultra-precise location information, the hijacking of cell phone cameras, and even stealthily recording sound and other environmental information, supposedly for advertising purposes. But is it? Of course, those examples represent just one of the many ways in which our privacy is being invaded and diminished with a vengeance in the United States today. Now, a new method is being explored by researchers which could allow people to use so-called bistatic Wi-Fi radar at a distance in order to covertly detect and monitor people moving behind walls. I mean, my God, you could be doing, things that you do in private that you wouldn't think that somebody was watching. I find that disconcerting. The researchers published the findings in a paper called, quote, "Through the Wall Sensing of Personal Using Passive Bistatic Wi-Fi Radar at Standoff Distances," end quote. In IEEE Transactions on Geoscience and Remote Sensing, Volume 50, Issue 4, the emphasis appears to be the ability to detect people, quote, uncooperatively and covertly, end quote, something which is also becoming increasingly important in facial recognition technology and other biometric technologies. The researchers, who are affiliated with the Department of Security and Crime Science at the University College London in the UK, have demonstrated the first successful through-the-wall detecting of moving people using passive Wi-Fi radar. Okay, quickly, let me break this down for you people. Oh, my God. That's why I brought up this article. I actually found it also on truththeory.com today. Just the idea of, remember the old Batman movie number 2, the one with the Joker in it, where they use all the cell phones to basically as bat sonar? I said to myself, I wouldn't be surprised if they already have that. I mean, we're worried about them tapping our phone lines, and they actually would possess, in this case, a 3D image resonance of our actual activities. I mean, you could be jacking off in there and yeah, they know, whatever. I mean, just the idea of it just is creepy. That's what it is. I mean, my God, could you imagine? Who would want the job of watching people doing things when they don't even know they're being watched, right? So, Wi-Fi, I mean, so many of us have Wi-Fi everywhere. We just basically set up a network to be spied on. Well, no kidding, duh. The experiments carried out by the researchers, and this article is talking about actual researchers, included various situations involving target personnel moving around inside a building within the coverage area of a Wi-Fi access point. The targeted individuals inside the building were then monitored from outside using a 2.4 gigahertz passive multistatic receiver. No kidding. The data was then processed offline in order to yield information about the targets. I like that, the targets. That means you. Currently, the biggest limitation on the system is the signal-to-interference ratio. The signal-to-interference ratio. That's the biggest limitation on the system. However, the researchers have already demonstrated a way to suppress this interference considerably. This message is based on the clean algorithm. Oh, crap, my computer's battery's actually dying of cord here. We're talking about Wi-Fi being used to spy on the American people. Now, the targeted individuals, that's us, well, were able to be monitored from outside using a 2.4 gigahertz passive multi-static receiver. The data was then processed. Here, I got to plug into this one over here. Hold on a second. Yeah, I could have done that on a commercial break, but I didn't. It's very real. We're very live here, and all right, thank you.
So you're talking about a continuation of what we're discovering as being a lot of spying because of the frequencies and bands that we're using. It's very easy for someone to get a product from Radio Shack and listen to what we're doing or digest the data themselves to gather it easily without court order.
Well, there was a published paper by researchers, and these researchers, it said here in this article who the hell they were, which is kind of important, like who even did this. Son of a... All right, well...
Little technical difficulties, folks. Just give us a minute here.
It just has IEEE Transactions of Geoscience and Remote Sensing, Volume 50, Issue 4. I don't know if that helps.
IEEE, International something.
IEEE Transactions on Geoscience and Remote Sensing, Volume 50. There was this emphasis reported, actually in the report, where they mentioned the ability to detect people uncooperatively, meaning you didn't give your permission.
Absolutely.
And covertly. Something which is also becoming increasingly important in facial recognition technology and other biometric technologies. The researchers who are affiliated with the Department of Security and Crime Science at the University College London in the UK, well, they demonstrated the first successful through-the-wall detection of moving people using passive Wi-Fi radar.
Wow.
And basically what happened is the experiments carried out by the researchers included various situations involving target personnel moving around inside a building within the coverage area of a Wi-Fi access point. So basically I was saying, like, there's Wi-Fi everywhere, right? So
right.
Just kind of like anywhere that you were near that, they would be able to detect you.
And to see you. So they're using the television optics then, basically, like scanners or screeners?
I think, do you remember the second Batman movie? They had 3D image resonating of people, and they were kind of transparent and see-through, but you still saw the 3D surface. It's kind of interesting. You didn't see a full-color image. It was kind of like a 3D radar image.
But not holographic in nature.
Well, damn near. I mean, the special effects they used made it look...
Because holographs are easy to reproduce.
Real clean. I mean, you're not going to get skin tones and colors in that, but you'll get pretty much basically what people are doing, coupled with the good audio. I'm sure if you can get visual, you can get audio too. So anyhow, that fictitious scenario in the second Batman movie apparently is possible.
Oh, I never think those things are fictitious. When you see the science they're extrapolating in movies, I know darn well that technology is already out there because somebody thought of it, and that's where these movie ideas come from. A lot of this is science in the making. However, of course, it's all fictionalized and Hollywoodized, but you were usually pretty close to working models by the time you see it in films.
Well, I would wager that the CIA or such high-tech, well-funded departments used to spy on us in the world, they're in possession of these things, and they wouldn't admit that under national security or whatever the case is. So you figure that, it's usually most of these products are first used by the military and then released for commercial, peaceful civilian use after being used to kill us.
And actually not just by the military, but, one of the first things that popped into my mind is that this kind of technology would actually have a medical use. It would be just a really interesting technology to develop for medical reasons, medical research.
It's not like an MRI.
No, I understand exactly. I'm just saying that you could extrapolate from this.
Because you're talking about a pretty weak radio frequency kind of wave.
Right, but they could possibly try that frequency since they're obviously not using it for anything else productive.
But it won't penetrate the body, is what I'm saying, like an MRI will or
Right.
an X-ray.
Not everything needs to penetrate the body to be able to relay information that might be of value.
Oh, okay. Well,
Sure.
all right. Yeah. That's
Just a different. I am the person who believes in liability, so the glass is half full because there's liability involved. But looking at the positive side of things, I'm always trying to look at what applications could be.
Well, I definitely agree that anytime the peaceful use I would love that. I'm detested by military use of such technology. There's nothing in the military to help you, buddy. Right? It's just kind of like there's no good military use. Sure, they build dams and do certain engineering
that's
things.
the Army Corps of Engineers. It's a slightly different department there,
Right, but
under different management.
They give them guns and tanks and bombs for a reason. They're not nation builders. They're nation destroyers.
They're not defenders. Actually, they're offenders.
Well, that's when the Department of War was changed to the Department of Defense a long time ago to kind of throw you off there.
I guess so, because it really should be the Department of Offensive Maneuvers, not defensive. When was the last time somebody came with a tank and tried to take over the United States? It's kind of facetious in its application.
It won't be happening anytime soon. We're separated by the Pacific and the Atlantic, and it's hard to get a tank across the ocean there.
I don't really think, though, so much that's the issue. But honestly, I was having a discussion with somebody the other day, and they felt that the reason for defense was actually for people like our embassy workers overseas. And that was actually a hot point we were getting into an argument about. And so this individual felt very strongly that defense was provided by the U.S. military presence there protecting our people in embassies and in foreign countries. And I thought, well, that's one way to look at it.
Well, just to wrap up the article in the issue here, there's a limitation on the signal to interference ratio, or SIR for short, SIR. And however, they've already demonstrated a way to suppress this interference considerably, which means they'll get this technology rolling. They talk about it's a clean algorithm normally used in radio astronomy and is, according to the researchers, capable of improving the signal to interference ratio by around 19 dB, which is quite considerable. Decibels? Wish I knew, but I would guess that dB is decibels, but they're talking about cleaning out the interference so that you actually get a good signal. Indeed, they went as far as to state these encouraging initial findings demonstrate potential for using passive Wi-Fi radar as a low-cost TTW detection sensor with widespread applicability.
TTW, would they be talking about like ankle bracelets where they're tracing units, GPS tracing units?
Damn, they don't mention what a TT...
I guess we need to have some of these definitions defined for us, but it's interesting. In a way, it almost sounds like you're talking about how we're using sound to create visuals. It's almost like seeing with sound. If you can bounce waves off and you can see an image.
Sure, that is in fact what it is.
Using sound waves to see. So I'm always fascinated by technology. However, as you know, frequently it goes awry, and it also the fate of it depends on who the investor is who's developing the technology.
Indeed. Well, we're going to take a short break, come back and talk about some GMO food news. Why not? In fact, we'll bring you a lovely commercial by Monsanto.
Our favorites.
You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com. The kitchen is the heart of the home. But at Monsanto, we're a megalithic agricultural group attempting to destroy farmers all across your country. We bring you horrible foods that attack your stomach lining, DNA, give you kidney and liver failure. Monsanto, bringing Franken foods to your family at home. Don't you just hate us? Say no to GMO.
Say no to GMO indefinitely. GMOs cause animals to lose their ability to reproduce. A Russian scientist has discovered. This article by Jonathan Benson, staff writer for naturalnews.com. A study presented at the Days of Defense Against Environmental Hazards in Russia has unveiled once again the implicit dangers associated with the consumption of genetically modified organisms. According to Voice of Russia, scientists from the National Association for Gene Security and the Institute of Ecological and Evolutional Problems discovered that animals fed GMOs as part of their normal diet eventually developed the inability to reproduce. A shocking revelation, the study is one of several that has identified a link between GMO consumption and infertility in recent years. And because it was conducted independently of the biotechnology industry, it came to far different conclusions than have most of the studies offered up for mainstream consumption in defense of GMOs. Using hamsters as the test subjects, scientists observed that consumption of GM soybeans, which have never been a part of the creature's normal diet, tended to slow sexual maturity and gradually eliminate the ability to reproduce. After several generations, hamsters consuming the Franken soy eventually lost their innate ability to reproduce. We selected several groups of hamsters, kept them in pairs and cells, and gave them ordinary food as always, said Dr. Alexei Surov, one of the authors of the study. Quote, we did not add anything for one group, but the other was fed with soya that contained no GMO components, while the third group with some content of genetically modified organisms, and the fourth one with increased amount of GMOs. Dr. Surov and his team then monitored the various groups of cubs, including their rates of growth and birthing frequencies, and compared their findings to the cubs' diets. After several generations of cubs breeding with each other, the team observed that those cubs who ate GMOs as part of their diet eventually became completely sterile. Quote, we noticed quite a serious effect when we selected new pairs from the cubs and continued to feed them as before, and added Dr. Surov. These pairs' growth rate was slower and reached their sexual maturity slower. When we got some of their cubs, we formed the new pairs of the third generation. We failed to get cubs from these pairs, which were fed with GM foodstuffs. It was proved that these pairs lost their ability to give birth to their cubs. Will widespread GMO consumption make future generations of humans infertile? An Austrian study uncovered similar harm in mice that consumed GM corn. An immediate consequence among the mice eating the Franken corn was that their offspring weighed less than normal, and overall litter size became smaller. After 3 or 4 generations, mice who came from GMO-eating parents and grandparents became completely infertile. Farmers across the U.S. have also reported infertility among pigs and cows that consume GM feed. And in India, an investigatory team observed infertility and other serious problems among buffalo that were consuming GM cottonseed. What a horrible thing to do to a buffalo. I mean, first off, I didn't really know that buffalo were still... This must be some other non-American... It's an Indian, East Indian buffalo. Is there bison? I mean...
Yes. Well, and some people think the water buffalo... Or the musk ox, the water ox, and the water buffalo, they're all names for similar four-footed or four-hooved animals. But I did not know this was new news, maybe in as much as that they are actually now coming out with conclusive studies. I was under the impression this was something we have known for a good decade or more, and maybe I've run across the story because of the nature of my industry, but I am not surprised. I am saddened, but I'm not surprised to find that they are publishing the correlation between GMOs and sterility. I thought when GMOs first came out, that was one of the proposed side effects.
Actually, yeah, there's off the top of my head, I remember a study conducted with rats, and the rats became infertile in 3 generations, was what I remembered.
Right, so we can't now all shout and scream hooray that we've got a great rat killer by feeding them sterile
The problem
food.
with human beings, if this is the case, is we wait a considerably longer period between generations. Rats and such are, reveal us quicker.
Right.
So
that's why we use them. However, they should be using pigs because the whole internal tract is a lot closer to human beings.
I have heard that the pig's DNA is very close to human beings.
The digestive tract plays out much closer to ours than rats. Again, as you stated so eloquently, it's population. It's the number of populations they can produce within a reasonable study period. And of course, you can just generations and generations of rats in 1 year. Probably 4, 5, or 6, depending on the health of the rats and the mice.
So, I mean, Dan, we read so much shocking, depressing news here, but, I mean, this is another thing to think about. If you just needed one more reason to not be able to fall asleep tonight.
Well, again,
GMOs.
Consumer dollars. Use your power, people. Your money, the pennies in your pocket are tremendous power. They give you these. They're like magic beans, only they're magic coins. And if you do not buy GMO products, if you, even on occasion, if you're answering a survey, if you have an opportunity to answer a survey, if you want to send a letter, send an email, let them know, because it doesn't take a lot. They feel that a few people can be representative of large quantities of people. I think the average is if they figure if 10 people respond, that they probably represent close to 1,000. So if we can get 10 people to take a store survey and say, we are not happy with these products, your voice is just amplified, apparently, to the power of 100.
Were you able to get that out? Indeed. It's called consumer advocacy, consumer vote with your dollars. Again, I guess we can only inform you here, tell you the stuff that's killing you, tell you the stuff you shouldn't buy.
But to help you make good choices and have a better day, not
Damn
to make you
straight.
sad and depressed. Hey, we're not telling you this stuff, folks, to make you unhappy. We're just trying to empower you to be able to recognize the power your opinion has, the power your buying habits have, the power your knowledge has. Because if you've got this knowledge, then somebody's not going to be able to pull the wool over your eyes quite so easily.
We often feel so weak and incapable of making change in this world when the opposite's true.
Much more likely to be true.
We underestimate, you, the listener, underestimates. I even do underestimate the power we actually possess as individuals. You would be surprised how making a decision, you stand strong on that decision and watch the environment around you change. As you defend truth is best defended from its own position. You don't need to go outside.
So we're not going to tell you this every day, folks, and we're not going to tell you this every time, but really our purpose in being here is to let you know what's going on, because you do have a right to know.
But check it out. It's for selfish reasons that I even do this. I know that sounds strange, because you could think, we're not your mommy, we're not your daddy, we're not your doctor. That's not the reason. We're saying actually collectively, if we get drugged down with society, the public drags individuals down with it or up with it, depending as the case may be. So actually, I'm telling you this stuff so that you have generations of babies, and so my children have children to play with. I mean, how's that one? That you don't become drugged out zombies. I don't want to live in a society of drugged out zombies. So, I mean, it's not like I'm telling you this stuff because, like, it's a nice thing to do. No, screw that. I'm telling you because it's out of selfishness. I don't want to live in a world like this. So you guys need to wake up. You need to get off these drugs,
nice
get
now.
off the poisons.
It's a holiday weekend. Be nice now, Michael.
Doesn't yelling at them help, though? I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. As I pointed out earlier, this radio broadcast I parallel it. We're on the deck of the Titanic, polishing the silverware as it sinks. So
But we're
what
both-
we get out in the last few moments, it doesn't even matter if I yell at you or not, so I probably shouldn't yell at you, because you're right, it doesn't matter. We're not going to change fast enough. That's my assessment. So I'm going to continue to smile and speak in a nice voice as I tell you that you're completely screwed.
And I'm going to sit here and tell you where the life jackets are and how to access them. And we will let you know where you can empower yourselves with informed choices, informed spending, and informed voice.
It's a good start. That is definitely a good start. Well,
Gosh darn it.
We managed to pull off 2.5 hours here today. I mean, I didn't really have many other articles to go after. I've got PSC rejects statewide smart meter opt-out. That's kind of I really dug this article up off the beaten path, so to speak. It comes to us from Jessica Vanagaren from the Capital Times. Thank you, Jessica. She reports that the state's Public Service Commission this week backed away from an opportunity to make Wisconsin one of the first states to provide an option for utility customers to opt out or decline the installation of new high-tech utility meters. The ruling prompted disappointed Madison residents to say they are ready to continue the fight on the legislative front. This quote, "The decision is disappointing, but it's not surprising," says Dolores Kester, the lead petitioner who filed to have the commission to look into a number of issues related to the new metering technology called smart meters. Kester and more than 30 other Madison water utility customers had submitted a petition to the commission in early July after they realized the water utility planned to begin installing what is known in the industry as an advanced metering infrastructure system. The system's smart meters use radio frequency waves to transmit information in the same manner as smartphones or a Wi-Fi computer network. The utility says the meters contribute to energy efficiency and allow a steady revenue stream for customers, but the smart meter technology brings concern for some customers, particularly over privacy and health. For more background on the meters, you can read, go to breakingdownthenews.com. I've got a few articles posted up there on that. The petition submitted by the Madison residents in early July tried to get the state to analyze those issues and have the Public Service Commission take what you would have been a bold and unique step of adopting an opt-out plan for customers of any utility company in the state, a number of which are already using smart meters. Well, hell yeah, in Milwaukee, we've got them. They're everywhere. We're infested with smart meters. Read about the health effects of these meters. They produce terrible, terrible health effects. You should not be bathing in the radiation of these things.
So that's the issue then, is that we're talking about EMG fields are in your home and EMF and the bad effects they have on some people. And I notice the effects on myself. I can certainly attest to.
Oh, you get headaches. You get a whole slew of things that it's amazing.
Sleeping is I think one of the things that we're least likely to contribute to that. But I do think it's quite a contributor to sleep problems, sleep issues.
Cool, Kate. We're at the top of the hour, and I guess we're gonna pull out of here. Thank you for listening, everyone. I'm Michael Wordsworth with Caitlin Redding. We'll be back Monday, 3:30 p.m.
on Labor Day. So you guys have a great weekend, and think of something to do for Labor Day. There'll be a great parade at noon down near the lake, so there'll be a nice lake breeze.
Yes, and to remind you, you don't have to listen to us live unless you want to call in, because the shows are archived. I recommend listening when you're doing the dishes, cleaning the house. That's the time to take in the news and this kind of stuff. And, I definitely go out there, turn off the TVs, and enjoy the day, folks. Yeah. I'm Michael Wordsworth. Peace out.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
This is Breaking Down the News, bringing you headlines that should have made the front pages. Streaming live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard.